Sisters who watch. Sisters who watch. Sisters who watch.
Love is blind.
Hey y'all, hey. Welcome to Sisters Who Watch.
I'm Shelby.
And I'm Laura, and we're sisters who watch everything. TV, movies, sports, concerts, and even couples falling in love without even seeing each other.
Yes.
We love to watch, and we love talking about it even more. Today we're watching
Love is Blind, Season 6, Episodes 1 through 9 of Netflix's hit dating show. Yes, our Part 1 review.
Part 1.
Yes,
and before we get into it, make sure you are following all of our social media channels at Sisters Who Watch. Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, LinkedIn, we're there, so go support us.
Everywhere.
And make sure you give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever you stream podcasts. And also check out our YouTube channel and subscribe and check out our videos there. Okay, Let's get into it. Shelby, tell us about the background of Love is Blind.
Yes, it is a bizarre reality dating show on Netflix that premiered in 2020, in the peak of the pandemic, became a hit with everyone's favorite couple, Lauren and Cameron. Also became a hit because of these iconic goblets you see if you're watching us. I do have a Love is Blind goblet. Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
And the show immediately became so popular, mostly because of the premise, right? Couples date and propose without seeing each other to prove that love is really blind. So they're in these pods, they're talking, getting to know each other, and they somehow fall in love without ever meeting face to face.
Somehow. And we reviewed season 4 and season 5. We did 2 parts for season 5. So go check out those episodes. They're some of our favorites, are most popular.
Yes.
And in our finale review of season 5, we had Aja Torre, who was on The Real Girlfriends in Paris. So she's a Bravo celebrity. So that was really cool.
Special guest.
Go check out season 5 finale review of Love is Blind for our special guest, Aja. Great episode. If you listen to our episodes on season 5, we had lots of opinions on that. So what were your expectations coming from season 5 into season 6?
Well, season 5 was a hot mess. We don't need to dive into it here. You can listen to our episodes. But only 2 couples made it to the altar.
Yes.
Including Lydia and Milton, who are somehow still together.
Somehow.
And it was not a good season. You weren't rooting for anyone. There was so much drama. No. But season 6 is already off to a much better start.
Immediately.
Don't know how it's possible, but this season is significantly better than season 5 already. So even though my expectations were low, Love is Blind knows how to hook you. I'm back. I'm ready. I'm into it.
You said it so well. I am back. Immediately, the first couple episodes, I was like, this is so much better. This is so much better than season 5. I hated season 5. So
it was on your list of worst content.
Yes. If you listen to our worst content of 2023, Love is Blind season 5 made that list. So I'm so much happier and feeling a lot better about this season. So the framework for this episode is a little bit different. We're just going to talk about each couple and talk about all the drama related to them.
From the pods to their vacation to going back to reality, moving in, meeting friends, family, all that.
Exactly. Okay. We're starting with our Black Excellence couple. Happy Black History Month, everybody. Adi and Clay. Ooh, there's a lot to unpack here. Okay. So starting in the pods, there was a bit of a love triangle.
Yes.
Adi was interested in Clay and Matthew, who was kind of hated by everyone. What did you think of this love triangle?
It was one of those things that I think if you saw the guys in person, like if Adi had seen Matthew, she'd be like, oh, there's no love triangle, it's Clay.
Probably not.
That's the point of Love is Blind, right? They make you think that you might be into someone you normally wouldn't be. But I do think the fact that Matthew wasn't well liked by the guys and the fact that he was saying verbatim the same things to different girls about like wanting to ask their dad for their hand in marriage. Like it was icky.
So weird.
Very icky. So I think AD ended up with the right person.
Before we learned that Matthew was playing multiple women, I was like, oh, they seem kind of sweet. Like,
Yes.
yeah, right? Like, I was like, oh, like, they're kind of cute. But then it slowly unravels. But also in the pods, Clay was doing a lot. Initially, I was like, this man is a red flag. I immediately was like, AD, you better run far away from him. And now I've kind of circled back into that mindset.
He's grown on me, for sure.
But Clay asked her, he was like, I can't get engaged unless I know what you look like. And I was like, oh no.
Did you know what show you signed up for, or what?
That's what I'm saying. Does he think he's on Shake's Love is Blurry? Like, what is going on? What is going on?
Love is Blind.
It's like, why did you come on this show? He's like, I need to know what you look like. And when he started describing what his girl needs to look like, I was like, this is horrific. He was like, I like petite, big butt.
He was describing AD, which was ironic. Like, AD looked exactly like that. So it was like, dude, just relax. Like, calm down.
I know. And
everything will work out.
Literally. I was like, bro, you're going to ruin your blessing. And I was really excited about AD and Clay because Clay had such an evolution in the pods. He was talking about how, you know, I have so much trauma and I would love to go to therapy with you. And when he whipped out that Bible and started reading verses, I was like, what is going on?
Did I miss something? It almost seemed like too quick of an evolution. I was like, what is happening? Because he went from, I can't be engaged to you unless I see you, to, I trust this process. I'm a man of God. I'm healing. I was like, taken aback. But I do think he was being super, like, transparent, right? Like, he has a lot of trauma. He didn't really see, like, Black love and Black men acting right in his life. And because of that, it's, like, messed him up.
I have such mixed feelings about Clay. I really do. Because then you see, like, later on, he starts to self-sabotage. You usually, on reality TV, you don't see couples like this. Like, two, like, dark-skinned Black people in a relationship. You know, it's usually, like, typically, you know, it's, like, lighter-skinned woman, dark-skinned man, if there's a dark-skinned person in the relationship. Typically, not all the time. Or they're both, like, two fair-skinned people.
Yes.
So it is really cool to see a couple like AD and Clay on TV because you don't really see that often. And the only other couple I could think of like this is Charity and Dotun from The Bachelorette. But, you know, they just became a couple right this past summer. But still super exciting to see that.
Yes.
So I do love that representation. However, Clay, I don't know if he is the man for AD. I don't know. Because you see more of that in the real world.
Yes.
But
one moment that comes to mind is Clay saying how AD would have to get in shape right away after having a baby. And he'd like force her to go to the gym. Like, that's crazy. You should never say that.
No. The conversation started really interesting. She was like, no, I don't really drink like sugary drinks. You know, I'm really, you know, into fitness and like staying healthy. And he was like, what? Like, you have such a great body. And it's like, oh, I put in a lot of hard work. And then it just spiraled into him being like, nah, I'm going to make sure you're in that gym. And it was like very aggressive. And she was like, that wasn't nice.
Not nice.
And he was like, what? And he didn't even acknowledge or realize that it was harsh. And she was like, that was mean. The way you said that, the tone. And that's come out multiple times in the real world. His tone and the way he says things is very harsh. Pregnancy and like having children is so complicated, and especially like postpartum. She could be going through so much. And the last thing I want to hear is be like, from my husband, girl, get in that gym. I do not want to hear that. He's like, I'm going to motivate you. And it's like,
not the way to my heart. That's for sure.
No, there's a way to approach it. And the way he said it, I was like, you better not say that to me.
Not good. And even when he is at lunch or dinner with AD and his mom and sister, and AD's meeting his mom and sister for the first time. Like when they were talking about the work schedule issues they were having, he like kind of snapped and like he was like, yeah, she's not working, so she can understand. And I'm like, dude,
Ew.
Crazy that you're talking about your fiance like that in front of your mom and sister. Like, get it together. Not appropriate.
If he's talking like this in front of his mom and his sister with cameras around, how is he going to talk to her when cameras are not around? He's talking crazy like this now? No. And they've known each other for like a few weeks. AD, no, girl. Like, no.
I will say, yes, Clay has had some bad moments, but clearly he does well for himself, right? Like, we see that he owns a house.
Amazing.
He has a vision board.
Incredible.
That threw me for a loop. I was like, what man has a vision board hanging up in his apartment or house?
I've never heard of that.
I have a vision board behind me, so it's something I do. I was like, Clay and I are similar? What?
I know. We both have vision boards. Shelby's the vision board queen. She, inspired me to do more vision boards. But I saw that in his house, and I was like, what straight man does vision boards? I love it. That's what I'm saying. Clay is such an anomaly. He doesn't make any sense. He's
an enigma. I'm trying to figure him out. Yeah.
His actions are not, it's not adding up. It's not. No. It's not at all.
And I like how, right, he's being real in conversations about Black men and infidelity and like seeing his dad cheat. But he talks about how he's worried he might cheat, right? And that is not what any woman wants to hear. And yes, good for you being transparent and honest, but find a better way to articulate that. Not like, oh, I might cheat. Especially when there are days you're like, oh, with work, I might just need to like sleep over somewhere else. Like, that is not helping your case, my guy.
So this is why you can't trust Clay. Like, he's talking about like, oh, I want to go to therapy. I want to be better for you. And remember in the DR when he was eating up that soup, and that was like such a weird edit. I don't know why they did that.
Yeah, they were like coming for him how he was eating and like putting plates away. The way she was looking at him.
That was so funny. He's like clacking all the plates.
Yeah.
And stuff. That was so funny.
Bizarre.
But when he was doing that, and then he was like, I just don't want to disappoint you. And AD was like, why are you saying that? Like, what do you mean? And he was like, I don't want to hurt you. I don't want to disappoint you. And then we see later in the preview, this preview made me so upset. He was like, yeah, like, everyone cheats around me. I've only seen Black men cheat. And he was like, that could be me. I don't want to cheat on you. I really don't. And I'm like, get out of here. Immediately get out of here. Immediately get out of here.
Just because you're surrounded by cheaters doesn't mean you have to cheat or you're susceptible to cheating.
That logic makes no sense. It's another excuse that so many men make, especially Black men, and it's just so like disturbing. And you're saying like, well, it's in my nature to cheat, it's in my DNA to cheat. And it's like, no, it's not. You are choosing to do that. Don't put that on me. Don't put that on your past, your trauma. It's an excuse. No one is making you cheat. No one. And I just like immediately I was like, you're fired. AD better not say yes at the altar. If she says yes, I would be so mad at her. What are your thoughts? That was my rant.
Yes, Laura, very passionate about this. Again, I commend him for being honest, right, and transparent. Like, I'm surrounded by cheaters. It's really hard for me to think about whether or not I'm going to cheat. But you have to also have like self-control, and take ownership of who you are and like your actions. You can't excuse potential behavior because of your past and the people you're surrounded by. Maybe change your mentors. Remember, he mentioned like Will Smith and all these people. It's like, maybe don't look up to Will Smith.
Maybe look up to Russell Wilson. I'm like,
Barack Obama.
Right? I'm like, Will Smith? Out of all the Black men to look up to? And this is like post the slap. I'm like, why are you looking up to Will Smith?
Oh my gosh.
Get out of here, Clay.
Get out of here. I was like, Clay. Like, choose different mentors. Choose different people to surround yourself with.
Remember he said Diddy? Clown. I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
That really did not age well.
You can find a better person to look up to than Diddy. That's for sure.
Diddy? That was wild. That was absolutely wild.
So I think he was being open, he was being honest, but setting up potential excuses for when he could cheat. And we don't like that. I want to root for AD and Clay, but I'm very suspect.
Yes, I totally agree. I started not liking him, and then I was on the top of the roller coaster. I was on a high. I was like, yes, like AD and Clay for the win. Like, I want them to work out. And now I'm back down. Like, no way, it can't happen. She deserves so much better. She really does.
We'll see if they last.
We'll see what happens.
Few episodes left to see if they make it down the altar. My money is on no, but crazy things have happened. Milton and Lydia got married, so anything can happen.
And the ballerina with the guy who yells at her, they're still together.
Hey,
so
you never know.
And apparently they moved in together. And I don't know why, but here we are. So stranger things have happened, but please, I don't want to see them get married.
On to our next couple, Jeramey and Laura. Another couple that had a bit of a love triangle.
Yes.
Laura, do you want to tell us about how Jeramey and Laura connected in the pods?
Jeramey and Laura were in a love triangle. Jeramey was also interested in Sarah Ann, who, our patriot, Sarah Ann.
I will never understand how someone's like, oh, I'm conservative, but I'm pro-choice, and I'm an influencer. None of this makes sense to me. You're a walking contradiction, but okay. Say you're conservative and a strong patriot.
I can't. She's like, yeah, you know, I'm a patriot. I'm a huge patriot.
Oh.
Interesting.
What a turn
Anyways. And it was so interesting in that conversation how Jeramey was like, love who you want to love. As a man, I shouldn't have an opinion about women's bodies. I was like, who is this guy?
When the men on this season, I'm like, you guys are showing a lot of green flags on things that typically
you don't see.
Yeah.
Right. In the pods, I really liked Jeramey and Laura. They seemed very compatible. They were having, really interesting conversations. I loved the one where they were talking about Christmas Day. Because both of them were like, yeah, I'm not really super close with my family. We didn't really make family traditions. And they were like, well, this is what I would love to do for my family on Christmas Day. And they just seemed really aligned on all the family values. Laura, my namesake, I was rooting for her. She's a very strong, powerful, independent woman.
Yes.
Very opinionated, big personality. So I can see why she's a little bit difficult. But Jeramey seemed to really be into her, right?
Yes. To your point, in the pods, they seemed like the strongest couple.
Yes.
But things started to unravel quickly once they got on vacation.
Right.
Right away, Laura started to show sides of her personality that I think were a bit hidden in the pods. So in person, you can see she's a bit of a nitpicker. And kind of like a mom, and I hate to say that, but the way she was like talking to Jeramey about his Hawaiian shirts, or when he's like playing in the pool and being a goof, she's like, "Oh, what are you doing? This is my life. Am I stuck with this?" Like, not into it. You could feel like she was either getting the ick, or she was like, "Oh, I'm gonna have to kind of be like a mom because I don't like this stuff." It was very strange. And she kept telling him, you're not going to be able to wear Hawaiian shirts like ever again. That's a big ick for me. That's the first time I've heard Hawaiian shirts as being an ick for someone.
Yeah. How do you feel about Hawaiian shirts?
I literally don't have an opinion. I have clearly have never cared that much about a Hawaiian shirt in my life. Not an ick for me. If anything, maybe it's an ick at a fancy dinner. And it's like, babe, do not wear a Hawaiian shirt at our nice dinner.
Right.
But why can't he wear it on vacation in the Dominican Republic? That's crazy.
Seems like the right occasion.
Yeah. And if he wants to wear it in Charlotte when he's going to drink with his buddies, why not? He can wear it to a barbecue. Did kind of seem like she was picking a fight, being kind of nitpicky, acting like a mom for no reason. And Jeramey seemed really like excited and happy, but I think her starting to chip at him slowly leading to like some division and tension.
Yeah. I agree. And something else we have to talk about was this whole bean dip thing. Have you ever heard of this?
No.
I've never heard of this. Never in my life. Maybe it's a thing in North Carolina.
What are they doing?
Like, maybe it's a Carolina thing. I'm like, what is bean? I've never
maybe
ever heard
everyone
of
in Charlotte's bean dipping.
Maybe. Let us know if y'all have heard of this. I'm like, what is it? So many issues with this. One, why would she ever say that? That's not. She was like, it's a joke. That's not funny. That is not funny. Don't joke about that.
Especially, I don't know, about like a Black woman. It just like stop fetishizing us, stop sexualizing
Right?
our bodies. Yeah.
I know. 80 is just getting put through the ringer this season. I'm just like, these people keep on coming for her for no reason. And she got mad that he repeated it. Sure, like, why would he repeat that? But don't say that in the first place. I don't think this is Jeramey's fault. I think it's Laura's fault for even saying it. What do you think?
I feel bad for Jeramey because I think Laura told him and was like, maybe not clear, like, don't say it to anyone else.
Yeah.
And then he says it, and then Laura gets really mad at him, making it seem like it's his fault. And then
Right.
that night, he's like in a bad mood and sleeps on the couch and just like feels horrible. And I'm like, it's not really Jeramey's fault. Yes, he repeated it, but it wasn't his joke. But he's ended up taking the brunt of the blame and then like is apologizing to AD and Clay. And I'm like, Laura should be doing some apologizing.
Yeah, I agree. It's Laura's fault. She should not have said that.
I think
and
another instance of Laura doing something to like hurt Jeramey and kind of make him continue to like question or maybe feel distant about the relationship. You know, like it honestly felt like in the DR, Laura kept doing these things and Jeramey was like kind of like a punching bag.
I know. I felt bad for him too on the vacation, 100%. Okay. Ooh. So that was the honeymoon. Now we get back into the real world. And Sarah Ann, she slithers her way back
into the triangle.
Into the triangle.
She wants Jeramey back.
Yeah. What did you think of this DM? She said, if your mind is shifting in choice. Why would she say that?
She basically DMs Jeramey on Instagram because right now that they're all back in the real world, they get their phones, they can see social media, they can stalk each other. She follows him, DMs him. It was great getting to know you. And basically, like, if you don't want to be with Laura anymore, I'm here. That's literally what it was.
Yikes.
He just likes the message and follows her back, but doesn't respond. And like a good man shows Laura right away. Like he's like, literally don't know what to do with this. And I think it was initially fine. But the big drama, right, is that Jeramey ends up seeing Sarah Ann and they are out all night talking. Like, I think it's fine to just like her message, but then to see her and spend that much time talking with her without anyone present, big red flag.
Huge. And not tell her that you're seeing her? That is insane. I would be so mad. I would be so mad.
We leave on that cliffhanger. Like, Laura and Jeramey are having this conversation, and Laura's like, you shared your location info with me. You weren't outside the bar the whole time. You were at her house. And he's like, what? No. And then it's like cliffhanger. Mm-hmm. So we need to get to the bottom of this. It is hard for me to believe that they would be out till 5 a.m. like sitting in each other's cars outside of a bar.
No.
Talking.
No.
That's crazy.
And apparently, this is what the internet is saying. That he shared his location, being like, I'm going to get around this. I'm going to share my location with her so she can't be mad at me. And he left his phone in his car. But his watch showed that he was at Sarah's house. And then he was like, what? Like, what are you talking about? I was in the parking lot the whole time. But, like, his watch is actually what you use as the location. Isn't that crazy?
What?
So he got caught in a lie. Like, that just shows men are finding new ways to swindle women. I'm like, how? That's insane.
Laura,
he left his phone.
Jeramey. All the good things you said
her
about you are out the window now.
I know.
Brutal.
What did you think of his house? his serial killer meticulous house?
I thought it was great. These men being super clean and having better homes than the women was not on my bingo card in 2024.
No.
I am so impressed. And I agree it was like almost too clean, but I'd rather be too clean than messy. I'm sorry.
100%.
He didn't have paper plates. He didn't have plastic cups. What a step up from Izzy. We
None
have
of the men
stepped up
here.
quite a bit.
Paper plates and plastic cups, no more. Thank God. Thank God. Yeah, his house was great. I loved his house. Okay, so something that the internet is saying about Jeramey is that he was engaged like a month before the show started airing, and he was living with another woman. And so that means that he was like applying to be on the show while he was still with this other woman.
Okay. I don't want to hear anymore. Jeramey is fired. Who was the guy last season that seemed so nice and all of a sudden he like ghosts the girl he's with and like doesn't break up with her? Like,
oh, Johnny and
Chris or whatever his name was.
Yeah, I think his name is Chris.
It's giving Chris, where the guy seemed really good on the show, and then all of a sudden you found out this stuff post show, and you're like, "Oh, what a clown! I was duped."
Yeah,
Jeramey has tricked us all. Ugh, I'm ready to move on. I don't want to talk about him anymore.
I know. I think his true colors really showed once the Sarah Ann thing. I was like, "Oh, this guy,
yikes.
Something's up with him." Okay, Kenneth and Brittany. There's a lot to unpack here as well. My goodness.
Yeah,
all these couples are a lot.
So Kenneth and Brittany were our young couple, Brittany 24, Kenneth 25, that bonded over their strong faith in God and teaching. Brittany being a teacher and Kenneth being a principal. Don't know how you can be a principal at 25, but I love it for him. I would just love to understand that pipeline in North Carolina. That's shocking.
Yeah.
But hey, maybe he's a rising star. Love it. They seemed sweet in the pods, but kind of like young and naive to me. I don't know. Whenever I see someone this young on a dating show, I'm like, are you really ready for marriage? I mean, I know it's the South, but 24 and 25,
it's really young.
It just seems really young compared to, you know, Laura and Jeramey, who are 31 and like 33. I liked how they bonded over their faith. I would say there are a lot of mentions about faith this season, but particularly with Kenneth and Brittany, I thought that was really sweet, and they bonded over their upbringing. But I never thought like, ooh, I think they'd be like a really cute couple. I thought that they had like a strong emotional connection, but for some reason I was never like rooting for them. What about you?
I immediately clocked that they were not going to be a good match. Immediately. In the pods, I was like, on it. This huge black guy with these little twists and this white woman. I immediately was like, I don't see it at all. And I just, like, just seeing them physically, I was like, I don't see them as compatible. I was like, they're giving friends. I was like, they're not going to be attracted to each other. And when they revealed, I was like, she is not into him at all. Like, I immediately clocked in. Other people were like, oh, they seem kind of sweet. Like, I've talked to several people about them. And I know you were like, oh, they seem cute. I was like, no. I was like, they're not going to last. They're going to break up. And I told you this. And other people, I was like, I don't see it at all. She's not into him. After the pods and after the reveal, you see, like, kind of a shift. She is like really trying, and she's like, you know, she seems to, the attraction has grown for her, but Kenneth is really kind of like is growing apart from her. Did you also notice that?
Yeah, it was weird because she, to your point, was really trying hard, and she said, I'm very affectionate. I like to touch and talk. And she was like, maybe Kenneth is more of an introvert than I thought, because in the pods, how do you know that? So she would be like, trying to start conversation, ask questions, and he'd be like sitting on the bed on his phone. Or when they're in the Dominican Republic on their date on the boat, they're just sitting in silence until they see dolphins. And like, oh, dolphins, yeah. It was just like, do you guys like each other? Why is there nothing to talk about? Like, it was crazy. To your point, you immediately saw a shift in the pods to in person.
Mm-hmm.
And Brittany even said it. Yeah, you don't get to see someone's mannerisms. You don't get to see someone's like personality physically and how
Yeah.
they interact. And so I think that is a concern with Love is Blind, right? Like you're talking to someone, you love his voice, his energy, but maybe he was just really comfortable in front of a wall. And the fact
Mm-hmm.
that you're now in person, it's harder for him.
Right. And we see this every single season. There's always a couple who has that disconnect, who has this really great connection behind the wall. And then in real life, there's that huge disconnect. So I immediately
Huge.
was like, it's giving friendship. I see no chemistry, no attraction. I didn't feel bad for her for a lot of the time, but towards the end I did. And something we also need to talk about that happened in the DR. When AD, Queen AD, justice for her, she's carrying the season on her back.
Everyone's
She goes
obsessed
to
with her.
I know, as they should be. She goes to Kenneth and was like, "How are you doing?" Because there's only three black people on this season: Kenneth, AD, and Clay. And if other seasons sometimes there's more, but this season there's three. And she was like, "How are you doing? Have you talked about race and have you really thought about this, right? Like she's going to raise black kids. Have you talked about that? Have you really reflected on that?" And I think that really changed a lot for Kenneth because before that conversation, he seemed to be, like doing fine with everything. But after that, you could see that shift and how he became more disconnected.
Mm-hmm. Well, because he had said, "Oh, I've never dated a white woman before. I've only ever dated a
Yeah.
black woman. My whole community, my church." Like he clearly has a lot of black people in his life, and that's the
Yes.
community he's in. To your point, I think he started to realize, one, am I really like into this white girl, and like would she fit into my world?
Right.
On top of that, the fact that she's really trying, and it seems like he's not, or when he does, like back in the real world, once they're working, he comes home late and it's like 1 in the morning. He like turns on the light and is like, wakes her up to say, like, good night. And she is like, oh, I'm so tired. Why'd you wake me up? And then he's upset because he's like, oh, I was trying to like be affectionate. It's like, one,
Bizarre.
don't wake me up in the middle of the night. I'm with Brittany. But also, it just shows, I think, their disconnect. Like, he thought, oh, yeah, like, she probably wants to, like, hear from me, whenever I get home. So I'm going to, like, kiss her and, like, say goodnight. She's like, I'm already asleep. I have to wake up in 4 hours. Don't wake me up. I would be in
Literally.
Brittany's corner, but I think it just shows how they're like very different people and how they try to show affection and like connect.
Yeah. What did you think when they were talking about the conversation Kenneth had with AD and Brittany was questioning AD's intentions?
I don't know if she was questioning. I feel like she said, I hope it doesn't come from like a negative place. Like, I don't know if she was questioning, but she did mention like in the past, like people can say things that could be negative and insinuating that she wouldn't be able to like be in a relationship with a black man or raise black children. I think she was like, I just hope it came from a good place.
Yeah, I really did not like how Brittany was talking about AD. I was like, why is everyone trying to come for her? Like, did she? I don't know. She was like, why would AD have bad intentions? I just thought that was really weird. I didn't like how she was talking about race in that conversation. She was like, yeah, well, AD's a black woman and I'm a white woman. It just felt very strange. I did not like that conversation. So the breakup conversation, we have to talk about that because that everyone online is saying that Kenneth was gaslighting her, how he was being very dismissive on his phone the whole time. What was your reaction to that conversation?
It was giving immaturity to me.
Yes.
It felt like Kenneth was kind of butthurt that she was saying, I don't have a spark. And he immediately shut down, was on his phone, which is really disrespectful, not comforting her when she's crying,
No.
and basically trying to put all of the blame on her and not really taking any ownership. He was like, oh, no, that's how you feel, not how I feel. I'd be able to like make this work. And it just felt like he wasn't taking the ownership or part in the demise of the relationship.
Right. I totally agree. It was very immature. I guess, I don't know. When I saw that conversation, I didn't think gaslighting, but I feel like that's the word a lot of people are using online.
Mm,
So maybe it is gaslighting. I didn't immediately think that, but he definitely was making her think she was the crazy one and at fault, which,
oof.
basically is gaslighting. So Kenneth came off really bad. I was like, what are you doing, bro?
Talk about a
I,
fall. Like a lot of
I
these men,
know.
they start out really strong, and Kenneth in particular took a bit
I
of a
know.
nosedive. So I'm curious to see if we see more of them. It doesn't seem like we see more of them.
No.
I feel like they're probably
I
like
hope
over the
not.
show. But I'm
Yeah.
curious if they show up to any of the weddings or the reunions, because
Right.
I'd be curious to see now how they feel about how that relationship ended. I'm
Yeah.
sure Kenneth probably has some remorse when he sees how it looks.
I think he was kind of embarrassed by her. I think after that conversation with AD, I think he was like, should I really be with this girl? Like and I think he was
Yikes.
embarrassed because they never met each other's friends or anything. Yeah, so
Yeah, they
just
were the first couple
nuts.
to break up once they got in the real world. It was really fast.
Yes. Okay.
On to our next
On to our next
couple.
couple, Chelsea and Jimmy. Wow, there is so much to unpack with all these couples.
I
This
know.
season is so much better because there's 5 couples that are so juicy. Okay, Chelsea and Jimmy. So another love triangle. Chelsea was interested. Well, this was a square, right?
It
So
was a
Chelsea
square.
was interested in Trevor, and Jimmy was interested in Jessica. So we have a love square. What did you think of this dynamic?
I think that Chelsea and Jimmy chose the wrong people,
Ooh,
which, to be fair, right, we could see what they all looked like, right, as an audience.
right.
And we could see how much each person was into them. Like, it seemed like Jessica was more into Jimmy than Chelsea, and it seemed like Trevor was more into Chelsea than Jimmy. That's what it seemed like.
Yeah. Yeah.
But somehow, right, they end up choosing the other people. Right
Confirmed.
away, I was like, I don't think this is going to work. With Chelsea and Trevor, Trevor seemed to show so much more care and emotion than Jimmy did. I remember Trevor saying, like, oh, my dog's name is Chelsea. And then he like gave her multiple gifts, including the dog's collar, a rock
Mm-hmm.
representing Love is Blind, like all these things. Jimmy never gave Chelsea a gift. Like,
No.
not, maybe gifts aren't her love language, but I think it's a sign if one guy is giving you gifts and like telling you all these thoughtful stories and the other isn't. Then the fact that I would like if one guy was all into me versus another guy that's debating between someone else. So I thought it was strange that Chelsea would not pick Trevor, the guy that was all in on her, versus Jimmy, a guy that was debating between someone else. A friend pointed out to
Yeah.
me they think maybe Chelsea liked the fact that a guy like Jimmy would pick her over a girl like Jessica.
Yes. I've heard that
And
too.
that's why she was like, ooh, I want someone like Jimmy. He picked me. Well, girl, he never got to see y'all, right? So I wouldn't get in your head like, oh, he wouldn't pick someone like Jessica over me, right? Like,
Right.
I wouldn't let that get to you. And also, it should be less about comparing and more about who would be the right person for me. Like, I think she probably let the other relationship get into her head a little bit. Like, oh, I'm the one
Right.
he chose. He picked me. So I want to be with him.
I agree. I also heard that theory. She was like, "Oh, well, I'm better than Jessica. He chose me over Jessica." Um yeah, I honestly don't know if it was the other way around, like Chelsea and Trevor, Jimmy and Jessica, I don't even know if those couples would have lasted, honestly. Because Jimmy
Mm,
doesn't seem like he's ready for a kid. And I think that was the main reason why he didn't choose Jessica. Like, he doesn't want to be a stepdad to a 10-year-old. That's what I think.
mm-hmm.
And not to burst your bubble on Trevor. More tea. So
Oh
apparently he came
no.
on the show with a girlfriend, and I saw a TikTok that my friend sent me, and it shows all these texts with Trevor and his girlfriend being like, "Oh yeah, I just got on the plane, just landed, so excited to be on the show. Like, I love you so much. I'm going to miss you so much. And he was like texting, oh yeah, like this girl, Chelsea, yeah, like I never was going to get married. I was just coming on here. I don't know exactly like why he came on the show. Like, does he have a business? Like, I don't understand why he went on the show. But yeah, he came on the show with a girlfriend. And apparently they just broke up like a couple weeks ago. And then the girlfriend just posted all these text messages. So yeah, to burst your bubble on Trevor. And it's like, but he said that he was going to propose to Chelsea, right? And you're
That's
like,
what he did
why would he say that?
You can't trust anyone.
Right?
You hate to see it.
Bizarre. You hate to see it.
You gotta be on here for the right reasons.
I know.
Ooh.
All these men. I'm telling you, the men are menning this season. Wow. Okay. What did you think of their honeymoon?
So, right away, right, when they officially see each other, you could tell Jimmy was a little surprised. We have to mention the fact that Chelsea said she looked like Megan Fox in the pods.
She did.
Because she has dark hair and blue eyes, which I'm sure got Jimmy excited.
He's like, Megan Fox.
Oh my gosh. One, you should never say anything like that because it's a show called Love is Blind. And that's a really high bar, right? If people say I look like Beyonce, I'm not going to say that on a dating show. These people are going to be like, oh my gosh, she must be like Beyonce. Too high of a bar.
No.
And lastly, she shouldn't have said it because she doesn't look like Megan Fox at all. Like, if anything, the other girl that Jimmy could have picked, Jessica, looked more like Megan Fox.
She looked like Megan Fox.
Like, Jessica is a baddie. So it's crazy for Chelsea to say that. Like, she set herself up for failure. So one, I think that's going against her. Jimmy sees her. He says, she lied to me because she does not look like Megan Fox.
Yikes.
So right away, bad start to the honeymoon. Once they're out of the pods, you can see, again, some personality traits and quirks you could not see in the pods. One, Chelsea being a bit insecure.
Yeah.
And the lack of confidence showing up a lot. It seems like she's a bit needy and needs Jimmy to be very affectionate, always kissing, always saying, I love you. And right, they're just like seeing each other first time, getting used to each other's like in person. So I can imagine why it might take Jimmy a little bit to, be affectionate. But like Chelsea needs it right away. Gets like very emotional. Like, oh, Jimmy doesn't like me. And it gets worse when all of the couples meet each other. That's always fun because you're like, oh, I was talking to you in the pods. Like, oh, you were Clay's girl. And you like kind of put the couples together. Before this, Chelsea had said, oh, AD's my girl. And she's like stunning or something. So Jimmy, I think, is like keeping an eye out for AD. And when he sees her, he's like, I don't like how he said this. He's like, that woman is stacked. One, you know her name. You could say AD is beautiful. Don't say stacked. She's not a smoke show. She's not like a piece of meat.
Ew.
Chelsea, being like nervous and uncomfortable, then tells the whole world, oh, my fiance thinks AD is stacked. And just makes it really weird and awkward. And then Jimmy starts talking to AD about it. And she makes it something bigger than it needs to be.
Everyone's at fault here. One, Jimmy, why would you say that about AD? I'm telling you, AD is getting put through the ringer this season. Everyone's coming in for her for no reason. She's minding her business. Like, stop fetishizing Black women. Like, it's so weird how they're talking about her. Yeah. Yes, she is, like, gorgeous, stunning, like, baddie down, like, 10 out of 10. But it's like, why are you... Everyone's commenting about her body. It's so weird. So, don't call her stacked. So strange. You could be like, oh, yeah, like, she's amazing. Like, 10 out of 10 gorgeous. Like, there's so many other ways you could have said that. And Chelsea made it worse. I'm like, Chelsea, if you were so insecure and uncomfortable by that, don't announce it to the whole world. Being
Keep
like,
it to yourself, baby.
Jimmy thinks you're so hot. Like, that was so weird. And as we've talked about, like, it's okay. Like, everyone has insecurities. But don't go on Love is Blind. Don't go on a TV show if you have such crippling insecurity that you can see through a TV screen. We compared Chelsea to Alexa from a few seasons ago, Alexa and Brennan. And yes, like, Chelsea is not like a size 0, right? Like a lot of these girls that go on the show. But like Chelsea is beautiful and has a great body. But her insecurity is that's what makes her unattractive. At least like to me, I'm just like, girl, like if you just were confident and just owned who you are and like weren't so needy, no one would care like what you look like. Jimmy has said, you're beautiful. I don't, like it didn't matter to me what you looked like. And he is validating her. So it just shows like that she's the one with the problem. Whereas Alexa, who is probably the same size as Chelsea, and she just was so confident, and like Brendan is like so obsessed with her. And Chelsea's very needy, and Jimmy is not super affectionate.
No.
He does say I love you, but she's like, why didn't you kiss me? He's like, you didn't kiss me today. You didn't kiss me. And I'm like, oh like my gosh.
She's like insane.
Much. And she was critiquing how Jimmy says I love you. I was like, that was so weird. She was like, you were like, I love you. And I'm like, oh my God, Chelsea, what do you want from this man? It's too much. And I also noted this. Chelsea's giving Jessica from season 1.
I'm screaming.
The icon Jessica who gave her dog wine. Iconic Jessica. So they were similar to me.
Not to belabor the point, but Chelsea's insecurities and neediness are heightened once they leave the Dominican Republic, are back in the real world, they're living together. They're meeting each other's friends. Chelsea just continues to be a little intense. Like, Jimmy's working all day. Her friends are there. He comes down after his work to say hi to her friends. She's just, like, telling them how she's unhappy that he hasn't really been affectionate today. And she's trying to figure out what's going on. And then once the friends leave, they have a big blow up. Jimmy ends up leaving because he calls Chelsea clingy and says that she wanted to have sex with him and he didn't really want to have sex. And it just,
oh gosh,
it goes off the walls. She says, like, this all changed because you saw what Jessica, the other girl, looked like. He's like, no, that's not true. Like, they just start having like the worst possible drama and fight. I'm very concerned about their future.
Honestly, yeah, this couple's toast. They should not get married. When he called her clingy, the way my mouth dropped, I was like, that's the last thing you should say to this woman. Calling her clingy set her off. I immediately was like, Jimmy, why would you say that?
Brutal.
And she's already in her head so insecure about this relationship. I was like, don't say that. And when he was like, oh, well, if you want to talk about sex, maybe you should hold back on that too. And I was like, that was so, why would you say that? That was rude. That was so like hurtful. Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Jimmy,
I was feeling bad for Jimmy, but he clearly knew how to like get back at her and say some mean things that he knew would set her off. So I was like, ugh.
And then the next morning, everything was fine. And they were like kissing and touching. And he was like,
so toxic.
Yeah, but I still, please don't stop initiating sex. And I was like, Jimmy, get out of here. I was like, I can't deal with him.
It's toxic.
So confusing.
And we see
toxic.
that Jessica still likes Jimmy. He had sent Jessica a friend request and then withdrew it. And we see in the preview that eventually Jessica and Jimmy are going to meet in person. And so you just know the writing's on the wall here. I am very concerned for this couple. I would be shocked if they made it down the aisle.
Danger zone. In the preview, what do you think this is about? Chelsea was like, I know you slept with her. I know you slept with her. What do you think she's talking about?
I'd assume it's Jessica and Jimmy sleeping together. But it could be anything. It could be like one of his two, best girlfriends. And can be like, oh, we're just friends. And then it's like, she finds out like, oh, maybe they slept together. Like, it could be anything.
Yeah.
It could be a trick that production's doing on us. I think they want us to think, oh, it's Jessica and Jimmy, but you never know.
So I heard a theory from a friend who was like, we think it's about one of the friends that Chelsea met. So that's what we think. Because why would Jessica sleep with Jimmy? That just doesn't make sense. Poor Chelsea, because she's been cheating on like all her relationships and it's been with like friends of her boyfriends. Oh, goodness. It's going to just continue to be a hot mess. Okay, our last
We got to move on. There's a lot.
Okay, Amy and Johnny. What did you think of them in the pods?
To be honest, they're my favorite couple. I felt that they had like the cutest, sweetest connection. They're another interracial couple. Amy being a Latinx woman, Johnny
Yes.
being very white and ginger man. But they seemed really cute. I'm like, were they the first couple to get engaged? Like, I feel
Yeah.
like they were the first couple to get engaged. So they weren't in a love triangle. So they didn't have drama in the pods. They kind of knew it was each other, which was nice to like be the only couple without a love triangle, without drama. They seemed to have like cute conversations. I just left away like, oh, I like them. What about
Yeah.
you?
Yeah, I agree. They seemed really sweet, wholesome, no issues, just straightforward in the pods, right? They both were all
Mm-hmm.
in on each other. Yeah, they seemed great. Even in the DR, they didn't seem to have any issues. Like,
No,
they
and they
seemed to
were
be going
like
swimmingly. Yeah.
concerned. They're like, yeah, we're doing so well. Everything's perfect. Like, I'm worried. Like, they were enjoying their pool time, their dates. When they met all the couples were like, oh, yeah, Amy and Johnny, they seem like really cute. They have good chemistry. Like, they seemed to
Yeah,
be like the couple everyone liked and felt good about. I
totally.
will say, given, Amy is Latina, she did say she typically dates very ethnic looking guys, which doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
And Johnny is the opposite. So I was a little concerned about whether or not she would be attracted to him. But she did say that she felt like the attraction was growing each day, which I
Right.
think was a good sign.
When I saw them in the pods, I was like, oh, Amy's a baddie. Like, she's stunning.
Stunning.
She's gorgeous.
Beautiful.
Absolutely beautiful. And Johnny, he's cute. Like, I don't think he's unattractive, but like she said, he's very ginger. Like, I don't know if I would, swipe on him on an app, right? And she also kind of alluded to that.
Yeah.
So, like she said, the attraction is growing. And I thought that she was like, yeah, I date ethnic looking guys. And I was like, girl, I feel you. I thought that was really funny. So yeah, they're definitely an interesting like match, like visually, because they look so different.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, but Johnny definitely leveled up. Like Amy's a 10 out of 10.
And he's obsessed with her. And I feel like that's
Yes,
always what you want. I think he knows he
yes,
leveled up. Like, oh my gosh, she's like so out of my league. I'm obsessed with this girl.
yes, as it should be, as it should be. Okay, we have to talk about this birth control conversation. This is the big thing
I
that's happening for
know.
Amy and Johnny. I think it's such an interesting conversation because I don't know about you, but I've never heard, this type of discussion on a reality show. Have
No.
you? No,
Mm-mm.
never, right? What are your thoughts?
And so basically, Amy and Johnny are like, yeah, we haven't had any fights. We're like, everything's perfect. And you could tell right away what production was doing. Like, making it seem like they're perfect, no fights to lead up to a
Yeah.
fight. And Laura, your namesake, who seems to be a little messy, she's talking to Johnny in the DR and is like, yeah, right away I was like, you and Amy must be like having sex because you guys have such strong chemistry. One, that's a weird
Weird.
thing to say.
Yes.
And he's like, oh, no, 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 like, we're not, Amy's not on birth control. And it's like, huh, okay.
Oh,
And then you see them have more of the conversation. Johnny has only ever dated women on birth control and just assumes all women are on birth control. And Amy is not. She's like, no, I don't want to have anything regulating my body and hormones. I'm anemic. There are just various reasons like I could go on it, but I don't want to.
right.
And Johnny is really concerned about an unexpected pregnancy. Like, seems like it's his worst fear. He's like, I want to be stable.
Yeah.
I want to have money. I want to be prepared. I don't think I can have sex with her unless she's on birth control. She's like, well, you could also get a vasectomy. I was like, oh,
Oh,
oh.
oh,
I did think it was interesting that a guy would just assume all women are on birth control because that's crazy to assume.
yeah.
And I feel like so much the onus is on the women, right? I was not expecting them to have any drama. So for this to be the big issue, I was shook.
This is such an interesting conversation because yes, it's not okay to assume that every girl is on birth control because I know many women who are not, and for the same reasons that Amy was talking about. I don't want to be on hormones. I don't want to change my body. I don't know how I'm gonna, you know, feel with this, how it's going to change who I am. So it's very, it's very normal to not be on it. So I really liked this conversation and the visibility of this conversation. If Johnny is so pressed about it, and Amy was so interesting, Amy was like, well, say it happens in a year and we get pregnant and we're not expecting it, then we'd still be able to handle it. Like, we can still, we'll have a house, we'll have each other, we'll have our family. And he was like, well, I don't want that to happen at all. And I was like, oh, he is so passionate and so afraid of that happening. Yeah, you should get a vasectomy. You shouldn't have to force her to go on birth control when she doesn't want to. And you're so afraid of having an unexpected pregnancy. Obviously, they can just use condoms, but, condoms aren't 100% foolproof, right? So I guess for Johnny, that's not good enough to, preventing the pregnancy. So it's interesting how he's like, there has to be some kind of birth control in the situation. This is why I'm like, I don't know if they'll get married, because I don't think Johnny is wrong for being like, I don't want to have sex with someone if there's no birth control. Because I think, like, that's, like, fair enough. Like, okay, like, I understand that. And it is common for women to be on birth control, but it's not, the standard. And it's also very fair for Amy to be like, well, I'm not going to go on birth control. And I don't mind if we get pregnant and it's not the perfect time. So that's why I'm like, I don't know. And it doesn't seem like, where is the compromise here? Like, it's hard to find the compromise. And I don't know if Johnny, men... they're so prideful. Like, I don't know if he's going to get a vasectomy for Amy. I don't know if that's going to happen. So I don't know where the compromise is here.
I agree. And I also think another shoe could drop is the fact that we've not met Amy's family yet. We met Johnny's sisters. They love Amy. They love them together. They're super happy. But Amy has alluded that her dad was not very thrilled about her going on Love is Blind, that her family doesn't know if they trust this process and that they're more traditional. So the fact that we have not had that yet does make me concerned that that could be another reason they don't make it to the altar. Because before all this drama, I was really confident they got along the best. But now the birth control issue, that's a big one. The families being on board, that could be a big one. Like, if the dad doesn't give his blessing, Amy might be like, well, I can't marry you.
I know. I'm very concerned about that. So, I don't know. The one super stable couple, I'm very uncertain about them. Very uncertain.
Now I'm concerned if any couple will get together at the altar. But we will find out. We will find out, and we'll give all predictions at the end.
Yes. Okay, on to our categories.
Yes, gotta move on.
Who, from Love is Blind Season 6, who or what did you love to hate?
Megan Fox. Solid actress, big personality, but not Chelsea's doppelganger.
No.
Not her celebrity lookalike. Never should have been brought up. And on a dating show where you're not supposed to see each other and talk about appearances, you should not bring up a celebrity lookalike or anything that would allude to your appearance. That is not okay. It's not. Love is blurry.
Even if you did look like Megan Fox, why would you even say that? Like, don't say, why would they say, oh, I look like Lori Harvey. Oh, I look like Beyonce. Because they're like some of the most beautiful women in the whole world. Why would you ever compare yourself to them? So dumb.
Too high of a bar.
Okay, I also have Clay for love to hate. I might even move him to hate to hate. But I think Clay has so much potential. But he's just self-sabotaging and getting in his own way. And it's like really disappointing and hard to watch.
Yeah. I'm aligned. I also would throw in here sharing your location. It's something that I think should be a good thing, right? But clearly, Jeramey used it to be deceitful.
Yes.
So I'm upset. Manipulative. Look at him a lot differently.
I totally agree. Because I do know a lot of couples who do share their locations. I think that's normal. But also, like what Laura said, like, I don't need your location. Like, I trust you, right? I'll also throw into love to hate birth control. Birth control has done a lot for, women. But I think this conversation, Johnny, like, expecting Amy and all the women he's with to be on birth control, and for this to be like the thing that could break them up is like really sad. Okay, hate to hate. I have
Yes.
insecurity. I feel like Chelsea's insecurity is like really alarming this season, and I feel bad for her because I'm like, girl, like if you just own who you are, like you are gorgeous, you are a wonderful person, but like your insecurity is dominating your entire personality and your love is blind
Brutal.
experience.
Brutal. I agree. It's
Absolutely.
tough. Didn't have to be that way.
No.
I also think bean dip. One, I've never heard of it. I literally just thought it was like a appetizer or a dish you would have at like a Super Bowl party. Right. And it led to a lot of drama and probably the demise of Laura and Jeramey's relationship, as well as just more fetishization of Black women, which we hate to see.
Yeah, hate to hate the fetishization of Black women.
Tough word.
R.I.P. R.I.P. Justice for AD. I also have to hate phones. There's been a lot of drama this season about like social media and people liking and messaging each other. And also, Kenneth, he could even be in this category. But like him being on his phone and being so dismissive to Brittany was just so hard to see.
That was brutal.
I just really hated that.
Okay, love to love. Of course, our Black Queen AD really holding it down. Like, I feel like she and Amy, I'll also throw in Amy, have been like, I think my favorites. Kind of like unproblematic faves. You know, no one's perfect, but I feel like out of everyone, I like Amy and AD the best.
100%. I totally agree. Their backs must hurt from carrying the season. Yes. Justice for AD specifically, but also Amy is wonderful. And I also really, really love this season, the conversations about Blackness. I haven't seen stuff like this. Happy Black History Month. Like, it's really cool to see, like, even though Clay is problematic, him talking about, like, the trauma of, you know, Black men being disloyal. And I just thought that was really interesting. And I liked how AD talked to Kenneth about, you know, raising Black children and interracial relationships. And Black mental health, I loved them talking about therapy in the pods. I thought that was really cool. So I do like the conversation about Blackness. I also love that. Yeah.
Yes. And of course, DR. We've been on a sister trip. DR looks great. I would love to go back to the Dominican Republic. Great place, great food, great people. Even though there was drama, they all seemed to actually enjoy the resort and the trip.
Yes. And usually the honeymoons are in Mexico. This is our first season in a new country for the honeymoon. So I wanted to note that. I liked it too. They should change it up every season. Go different places.
I agree.
Okay.
Game time.
Honor a game. Red flag, green flag, 1, 2, 3. Shelby, is it a red flag to be clingy?
In Chelsea's case, 100%. I think clingy varies, right? I think it's typically used in a negative connotation. So you're being like too affectionate. I think for Chelsea, she was kind of being clingy, but it's because it came out of insecurity. And I think if you're showing affection out of like love, and this is how you use and need to receive gifts in relationships, that makes sense. But if it's out of insecurities and lack of confidence, like Chelsea's case, I think it is clingy and it is a red flag. Now, should Jimmy have said she was clingy? No. I think clingy as a word should be banned, particularly if a guy is saying it to a woman. I think there are other ways for Jimmy to articulate. So I do think it can be a red flag to be clingy, particularly in Chelsea's case, not in Brittany's case. But Jimmy should not have said it at all.
Yeah, I'm aligned.
Question for you. Is it a green flag for a guy to have all female friends? In Jimmy's case, he did.
Ooh. Yes. So this is tough because I don't have that many like straight male friends, but I know like girls who do, right? And I think it is a green flag to surround yourself with women because I think like it just makes you like a more well-rounded person to have like both male and female friends, just to have like different perspectives. And I think that men who have like woman friends like you're more sensitive or in tune with like women's issues and like how to interact with women and, you know, treat them, right? So I do think that's a green flag. However, it does present some issues because, right, in Chelsea's case, she's been cheated on in her past relationships with guys who had these women friends. So I think it's tough. I think it's mixed. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because I think it's a green flag, you know, to have like strong women in your life, to have like some woman friends. But if you're like if you're really, really close to other women, it can feel like threatening. It can, you know, like play into insecurities. And you're like, well, how do I know that you're not going to do anything with them? You know, I think it's hard.
So you're saying shades of green?
Yes. Yes.
I think that's fair. I think it really depends. Like, are the female friends in relationships? Are the female friends your exes? Like, there could be a lot of dynamics there that I think it's kind of like a case-by-case basis, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Overall, how are we feeling about season 6, episodes 1 through 9 so far?
Whew. Well, we had a lot of thoughts. These couples are so meaty and all of them have such interesting issues going on with them. I'm really enjoying it. Season 5 we talked about was very disappointing. Train wreck of a season. This season is so much better. I'm really enjoying it. I'm so happy with 5 couples. Now we're down to 4 who can potentially make it to the altar, but I'm really enjoying it. I am concerned. I don't know if any of them will get married. I think they all might break up. Based on the first 9 episodes, I'm like, no one is in a good place right now.
I know. I'm aligned. I feel like this season has been good with the drama. If I had to pick a couple, I might still say Amy and Johnny, but I am still concerned about birth control and the family acceptance.
Yeah.
I feel like AD and Clay could somehow be the couple to make it, which is crazy, but it does seem like the other couples have like bigger issues. And AD might think she can fix Clay, which
oh gosh,
we would hate to see, but I could see her pulling that.
I hate to see it. I know, I'm concerned too, because I want to root for them so badly, but I think Clay just has so many red flags, and it's like, AD could do so much better. Like, AD just has no red flags. She seemed like such a wonderful person, and I don't want to see her try and fix this man with lots of trauma. Okay, on to our what to watch segment. So of course, the rest of season 6.
Oh my gosh, we still have more episodes.
I know. What more can happen? 2 episodes come out Wednesday, February 28th. Mark your calendars. And another episode will drop on Wednesday, March 6th.
And the reunion has not been announced yet, but we're assuming they have to do one, like they have the last few seasons. And it'll be juicy to get everyone back together. And as Laura gave us some tea, you got to pay attention to social media. I had no idea about Jeramey and Trevor being clowns. So thank you, Laura, for being our resident tea giver and paying attention to all those tea leaves and social media. So yeah, keep an eye out, y'all. There could be more drama coming our way.
100%. And if you liked this review of Sisters Who Watch Doing Love is Blind Season 6, please give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. That would mean a lot. 5 stars, please. And make sure you can auto-download our episodes. You can follow us and subscribe to our pages on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, LinkedIn. We are there. And you can also follow our Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube pages as well.
Yes, we want to hear from y'all. You can email us at sisterswhowatch@gmail.com. You can DM us on social media. We want to hear from you. Please comment on our Q&As on Spotify. And we're just so grateful for your support. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you.
Stay watching.
Stay watching.